Hey Flosstube, when do astronauts eat? At launch time! Hi Flosstube, I'm Stephanie, the Ivy House Crafter. Today's dad joke brought to you by my husband's dad joke of the day calendar. It may not sound like it, but I am much better as far as my cold than I was last week. Hello kitty. It's been a bit of a rough week as far as not feeling well, but all that's left is like a little bit of stuffiness, and sometimes my voice does weird things and occasionally I have to cough. Other than that, I'm much better. Let's see. This little kitty had a adventure the other day. My toddler is old enough, or tall enough, smart enough, mischievous enough that he likes to unlock the front door and go outside. And so, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, yesterday morning. The kids get up before I do, because I value sleep more than they do. But they usually are really good about making sure that Matthew is downstairs safely where he cannot open the door, but somehow, due to some oversight, he was left upstairs while the rest of them were downstairs, and so he was able to go outside, and he left the door wide open, and my cat got out with him, and thankfully I got up. They had only been out for a little while, and they were just in the front yard, and Isis was eating grass, which when I brought them back inside, she promptly threw it all up. Thank you so much. Proving once again why you are always going to be an indoor cat, you little weirdo. Okay, she's settling on my lap. We're gonna get fur all over my projects, huh? Anyway, so all the kids are safely downstairs watching Curious George, and let's get to it. No, I'm not going to bother remembering what day I did what. I spent one day working on my summertime sampler. This is a design that I have spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and I designed them. They're available in my shop. I finished spring quite a while ago, and I'm actually going to show that to you now. And so this was the springtime sampler. One of my very first designs that I ever did. I think it's so cute. And once I designed that one, I was like, well, now I have to design all the seasons. So I did work on Summertime Sampler, and I was so close to a finish that I went ahead and finished it that day. So here is Summertime Sampler. I'm trying to remember what I needed to add. It's been a long week. I added the butterfly. I added the letters. I'm sure there's more that I'm not remembering. Maybe I added this bluebird. I don't know. But anyway, I finished it. Oh, I added all these little flowers. So that was the first thing that I worked on this week, and it was a finish. So yay! And then I thought, well, why don't I just move on to the next seasonal sampler? So I pulled out Autumn Time Sampler, and when I picked that one up, I had the border and the alphabet done, and over, I think, just a couple days, I finished that one too. So this one is Autumn Time Sampler, and everything in here except the border and the alphabet I put in 2 days this week. So I did these adorable pumpkins, all the grass, all the leaves, the word autumn, this super cute birdhouse, and my blackbirds and these flowers. So I finished that up this week as well. And then I thought, what the hey? Let's just make it the week of seasonal samplers. My wintertime sampler, I knew, well, I didn't know if I was going to finish it or not, because that one I only had, I had the top border and about halfway down the side of the border. That was all that I had done. And this border is more complex than the other borders and takes a longer time to stitch. So I wasn't sure how much I was going to get done on this one, but I went ahead and finished it. This one took me 4 days of stitching to complete. This tree took several episodes of an unnamed sitcom that I was watching with much eagerness because it's fun. Yeah, this one took a long time because all I had was this top and partway down the side. That's all that I had done, and everything else I did in 4 days. So that is finish number 3 for me this week. And I'm going to go ahead and show the close-up video of all 4 of those right in here. Okay, so having finished Wintertime Sampler, I still had 1 day left. Let's see, I'm adding it up. That adds up to 7 already. So I had 1 day on Springtime Sampler, and then I worked for 2 days on Summertime Sampler. I remember the day that I finished Summertime Sampler, no, blah, 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 blah. 1 day on Summertime Sampler. The next day I picked up Autumn Time Sampler and I worked on that one for 2 days. And the day that I finished that, I pulled out Wintertime Sampler and started that and worked on that one for 4 days. So that's 6 days altogether. Which brings us to yesterday. I was fresh out of seasonal samplers to work on. I finished them all. So I pulled out, actually Matthew pulled out, sometimes he goes over to my big bag full of project bags and like starts handing me project bags while I'm stitching. And occasionally it's a little bit irritating. I'm like, no, just leave them there and I have to put them all away. But this time he only pulled out one and then got distracted and went playing with something else. And so I just kind of set that one aside and went on stitching with whatever I was stitching on at the time. Probably Wintertime Sampler because that one took forever. Anyway, what he pulled out was the cabinet from Thistles. And so yesterday I went ahead and picked this one up. The picture on this does absolutely no justice to how just awesome it's going to be when it's done. But I was working on this first shelf out of 5. And I went ahead and finished that. So I had another mini finish. This is shelf number 1 of the cabinet. What I added to this was the hat boxes and this star, and then all of these lines in the background to indicate that this is made of boards of wood. So this is what I worked on yesterday. So basically my whole week was made up of either finishes or a mini finish. I like this one. This one is so cool. This is just going to be so awesome when it's done and I can sew it up into an actual cabinet with all the shelves. Anyway, that's all the cross stitching I did. It was a lot. I was so excited to get those finishes done. Those are part of my, it's not part of the Stitch 9 challenge. It's not part of like Year of Whips or anything like that. It was just, I had set some personal goals of projects that I would like to finish this year, and those 3 were on that list. So check, check, and check. Anyway, so that's all my cross stitching. I also did some knitting. I started a pattern called June Bunny's Shawl, and that's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I will link that below. It's a top-down pattern. So here it is. I started with just this little bit right here and then have been expanding. And this is how far I am. It's kind of curling up on the bottom. Let me sort of turn that over. The yarn is like hanging on the cat's head and she's like, what are you doing up there? So this is the pattern. It just can, there's increases on both ends and in the middle to give it the triangle pattern. And I'm close to being able to start the first insert. There's like a fancy, okay, you cannot eat my knitting needle. I'm going to put this down. There's fancy inserts that's kind of lacy, not very lacy, but there will be like 3 or 4 of them throughout the shawl. And I'm close to being able to start that first one. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a really short video because all I have to do is add in the close-ups of the pieces that I worked on, which you will have already seen, but I have not yet filmed. And that's all that I have. As far as plans for this week, I'm going to get a lot of stitching done. I don't know what I'm going to be working on. I might move on to shelf number 2 from the cabinet. I might say that's a good stopping place and move on to something completely different. I'm not a huge planner. Jeff has most of the days of this week off from work, which is a rare occurrence lately. His work schedule, he works 7 days and then he's off for 7 days. Technically, that's what his schedule is supposed to be. But they're short-staffed, and so everyone has been having to pick up 2 or 3 days in their off week. And so he's been not having his off week, which is really hard because he's been working this 7-on, 7-off schedule for years. And you get to a point where, I mean, that's what you do. Your life revolves around the schedule, and it's set in stone. And the 7 days on work, these are 10-hour days and usually last longer than 10 hours. And so after, I know there are people who have it worse, but after working 7 days of 10-hour days straight, you kind of need that 7 days off. And that was like our family time, our get stuff done week, and so to have only a couple days off at a time it's been really hard. So we're really looking forward to him only having to work 1 day during his off week instead of like 3 days. Anyway, first world problems. He has a job, it's a wonderful job, and he enjoys what he does. He just gets tired. And we get tired without him here. Anyway, so all that to say, we're probably going to do something fun this week. Not like I don't know, maybe we could do a big trip. We could like go up to Idaho, but probably not. So probably not some big fancy thing, but like we'll go to the planetarium, go to the park, you know, stuff like that. We're just looking forward to it. And since we homeschool, I can just say, okay guys, now it's spring break and you don't have to do schoolwork. And even if they did have to do schoolwork, they're so fast and so good at their schoolwork that they get it done like really fast in the morning and then have the whole day to, you know, we do whatever we want, which is awesome. So it's gonna be a good week, and my stitching will probably revolve around what our plans as a family are. That being said, I love to stitch and I love to sit around doing nothing, so I'll get lots of stitching done. I'm blabbering and just being really random now, and I'm gonna sign off before I get even more boring than I already have been. Have a great week, everybody. Happy stitching. Bye.